Kia ora, and welcome to day 8 of a month done and a month of mindful moments with tangling. Yesterday we did Moonberry, and today I want to have fun with another tangle which starts with the word moon. It's Moonesque by Leslee Feiwus. Leslie I met when I was doing my CZT training, and she's created a tangle which is not quite a grid tangle, but it's slightly different for a geometric tangle because it uses a rectangle shape. So if you remember the little container that our moonberries were coming out of yesterday, I've used the edge of that with which to start our rectangle shape. So with those lines of where the container was coming out of, I'm just going to draw a rectangle. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle on top of that. Leslie was inspired by a concrete block wall. Sometimes you think of when you're creating something, to come across a block wall, a bit of a seizure point which you can't think past. So I think it's quite funny and quite inspirational that she came up with a block wall as an inspiration for a tangle. And so once you've drawn your rectangles, we're then going to give each one an inner aura. As our block wall is going to go across our spread or our page today, just take your time, build your blocks and build your inner auras on them. I can use the spread and the little spine of the page to use as a separation between my blocks. It doesn't matter that we haven't quite drawn in the middle. Each of my blocks has that steady inner aura. I like the fact that it was just a very plain concrete block wall that Leslie was parked beside, which gave her the inspiration. Sometimes, just as this little prompt today, I love noticing. Just reminds me of how Leslie suddenly noticed a very plain block wall. And once you have all your inner auras done, I'll show you the next step of drawing this tangle. It uses a stroke that I like to use quite often with beginner tanglers, when I ask them that I'd like them to draw a bird. There's usually a little bit of panic on faces before I mention that you've all drawn one before, when you were drawing a sunset picture in school and you were asked to draw some birds in the sky, and you produced a little seagull, a little stroke that goes from wingtip to wingtip. And it's that stroke that we're going to put inside each of those blocks. A gentle seagull from wingtip down to the body and back up to the other wingtip. I like to use this stroke in the tangle nice or the tangle aura knot. Just a very simple bird that goes from wingtip to wingtip. When I do the second block, I'm going to turn my notepad upside down and draw the same seagull shape from wingtip to body to wingtip. And that way I create a circle. Then it's very simply of doing a little inner aura again. Each curve you may want to do in a repetitive fashion, doing that same stroke in each block, gently moving your notepad around. or you may choose to do one block at a time. Whichever way works for you, and making it simple for your tangling. And once you've completed all those auras, it's now time to add a little bit of shading. I don't know how you might add your shading today, but I'm just taking some of those inner angles on my circles, each quarter circle, and I can then use that to start the positions of the graphite before using my tortillon to blend them away. However, you might like to add a different enhancement, perhaps some rounding, perhaps some drama, or do a little tangle inside each of these holes. I think of the concrete block wall that Leslie must have seen, and use these sections and spaces as sections for drawing tangling and tangles within them. Gently use your tortillon, just pressing to push the graphite into the paper, into the texture of the paper, and smooth it out. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I like to make sure that some of the graphite is a little bit more concentrated right in those little angles. Perhaps you'll do the same. So we're going to take our little seagull shape and we've popped it in. And so what's our prompt today? I love noticing. I love noticing patterns, and so just as Leslie noticed that concrete wall, perhaps you'll notice a pattern today. And perhaps you'll shade, you'll add an enhancement, a little bit of drama to your concrete wall today. And as you look around after you've done the tangling, perhaps you'll see a pattern that just looks like a tangle you already know. Or perhaps you'll see a pattern and decide to invent your own tangle too. Whatever happens, I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.